We live in a world that never slows down. Messages arrive before we're fully awake. Expectations follow us everywhere. And even in moments of rest, the mind keeps racing. Many people feel anxious, distracted, and exhausted. Not because they are weak, but because life feels out of control. More than 2,000 years ago, a philosopher who knew hardship firsthand discovered a powerful truth. Peace does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering oneself. His name was Epictetus, and his wisdom speaks directly to our time. When most people hear the word philosophy, they imagine something distant from everyday life. Old books, complex ideas, or debates that belong in classrooms, not in real situations. But for the ancient schools, philosophy was never abstract. It was a way of living. Philosophers were not trying to impress others with intelligence. They were trying to answer one essential question: how should a human being live? How do we face fear, frustration, loss, uncertainty, and pressure without losing ourselves in the process? Stoicism was born in a world that felt unstable and unpredictable. Wars, political tension, social inequality, and sudden changes were part of daily life. In many ways, that world was not so different from ours. The Stoics believed that if life is uncertain, then inner clarity becomes essential. If the world is unstable, then the human being must learn to stand firm inside. This is why philosophy, for them, was practical training. It was meant to be applied in conversations, in difficulties, in moments of anger, disappointment, and choice. Life itself was the classroom. One of the clearest voices of this tradition was Epictetus, who reminded his students that philosophy is useless if it does not help us live better. Wisdom, in this sense, is not about knowing many things. It is about becoming a better human being. Stoicism begins with a simple idea. You cannot always control what happens, but you can always work on who you become. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a simple distinction that changes everything once it is truly understood. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. Some things depend on us. Some things do not. This may sound obvious at first, but most people live as if this distinction didn't exist. We worry about what others think of us. We get angry about situations we cannot change. We replay the past and try to predict the future. We exhaust ourselves trying to manage outcomes that are never fully in our hands. Stoicism brings clarity by drawing a clear line. What does depend on you? Your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, your actions, your values. What does not depend on you? Other people's opinions, their behavior, external events, luck, results. According to Epictetus, confusion and suffering begin when we invest our emotional energy in what does not belong to us. We try to control people, situations, and outcomes, and neglect the one place where our power actually exists, our inner life. This does not mean becoming indifferent or disconnected. It means becoming responsible. When you clearly see what is and is not under your control, you stop wasting energy. You stop blaming. You stop feeling helpless. And you begin to act with intention. This is where Stoicism locates freedom. Not in having everything go your way, but in governing yourself wisely, regardless of what happens. Once this distinction becomes part of how you see the world, daily stress starts to lose its grip. You no longer feel pulled in every direction. You begin to stand on solid ground. Modern life quietly teaches us that we should be able to manage everything: our image, our success, our relationships, our future. We are encouraged to believe that if we plan better, work harder, think faster, or worry more, we can prevent discomfort and uncertainty. But the opposite usually happens. The more we try to control everything, the more tense and anxious we become. Stoic philosophy observed this pattern long before modern psychology. Epictetus taught that human beings suffer not because life is difficult, but because they demand that life obey their expectations. When reality does not match our inner demands, frustration appears. When people act differently than we want, anger arises. When outcomes escape our control, fear takes over. The problem is not effort. The problem is misdirected effort. Trying to control what is not ours creates constant inner conflict. It places the mind in a permanent state of resistance, fighting reality instead of understanding it. This resistance drains energy, clouds judgment, and slowly erodes inner stability. Stoicism offers a different approach. Redirect effort inward. You may not control how others behave, but you control how much power their behavior has over you. You may not control what happens next, but you control the values that guide your response. This shift is subtle but profound. When responsibility returns to the inner world, something changes. The mind becomes quieter. Decisions become clearer. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and begin to experience yourself as an active participant. Stoicism does not promise comfort. It offers something stronger: inner solidity. Stoicism does not ask you to retreat from life in order to practice philosophy. It asks you to enter life more consciously. For the Stoics, daily situations were not interruptions to wisdom. They were the raw material for it. A plan falls apart. Someone disappoints you. You receive criticism. You face uncertainty about the future. Most people experience these moments as personal attacks or failures. The mind reacts automatically. Tension, irritation, self-defense, or discouragement. Stoicism invites something different: a pause. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" it asks, "What is this moment asking from me?" Every difficulty becomes a form of training. Delays train patience. Criticism trains self-knowledge. Conflict trains self-control. Uncertainty trains adaptability. This does not mean pretending challenges are pleasant. It means recognizing that they can be useful. When you see life this way, you stop dividing experiences into good and bad based only on comfort. You begin to see them as opportunities to develop strength, clarity, and character. Stoicism teaches that we do not grow when everything is easy. We grow when we respond well to what is difficult. In this sense, life stops being an enemy that must be resisted. It becomes a teacher that cannot be avoided. And the quality of your life begins to depend less on what happens, and more on how you meet it. Most people grow up believing that freedom means having options. The freedom to choose where to live. The freedom to say what you want. The freedom to do what feels right in the moment. But the Stoics noticed something important. Many people who have external freedom still feel trapped inside themselves. They are controlled by impulsive reactions, fear of rejection, constant comparison, the need for approval, the pressure to keep up. From a Stoic perspective, this is not freedom. True freedom begins inside. A person who cannot control their impulses is not free. A person who is shaken by every opinion is not free. A person who is dragged by anger, anxiety, or desire is not free. Stoicism defines freedom as self-mastery. This means the ability to pause before reacting, the ability to choose values over impulses, the ability to remain steady when circumstances change. Epictetus spoke about freedom constantly, not because his life was easy, but because it was limited. He understood something many never question. External conditions can restrict the body, but only you can restrict your inner life. Inner freedom does not depend on money, status, or comfort. It depends on discipline, clarity, and responsibility. This kind of freedom cannot be taken away by a bad day, a difficult person, or an uncertain future. It grows quietly through daily choices and gives a deep sense of stability that external freedom alone can never provide. When you develop inner freedom, the world still challenges you, but it no longer controls you. One of the most misunderstood ideas in Stoicism is acceptance. Many people hear the word and immediately think it means giving up, becoming passive, or pretending that problems do not matter. That is not what the Stoics meant. Stoic acceptance is active, not passive. It begins with a simple recognition. Reality is already happening. Fighting the facts does not change them. It only adds mental suffering on top of the situation itself. When something goes wrong, the mind often reacts with resistance. This shouldn't be happening. This ruins everything. This is unacceptable. But resistance does not solve the problem. It drains energy and narrows perception. Stoicism teaches a different first step. See clearly what is happening, without denial and without exaggeration. Acceptance means saying, "This is the situation," not approving it, not liking it, just seeing it as it is. From that clarity, intelligent action becomes possible. This is why Stoics did not waste time complaining about fate. They asked, "Given the situation, what is the best response available to me right now?" Once you stop arguing with reality, you recover your strength. The mind becomes calmer, more flexible, and more capable of choosing a meaningful response. Acceptance is not the end of action. It is the beginning of effective action. When you accept reality, you stop being dragged by it. You stand inside it, consciously. Much of the suffering we experience does not come directly from events. It comes from expectations. We expect people to behave a certain way. We expect life to follow our plans. We expect effort to always lead to predictable results. When these expectations are not met, frustration appears. Disappointment grows. The mind begins to argue with reality. Stoic philosophy observed that the human being often suffers twice, once because something difficult happens, and a second time because the mind refuses to accept that it happened. This second layer of suffering is optional. The Stoics spoke about the discipline of desire, learning to want wisely. This does not mean suppressing desires or becoming indifferent to life. It means placing desire where it belongs. When we desire things that do not depend on us, approval, recognition, perfect outcomes, we make our peace fragile. It depends on forces we cannot control. But when we place desire on what does depend on us, acting well, choosing integrity, giving our best effort, something shifts. The mind becomes lighter. The emotional swings soften. Frustration loses intensity. You may still prefer certain outcomes. You may still work toward goals, but you no longer need reality to obey your expectations in order to remain centered. Stoicism teaches a quiet but powerful lesson: peace grows when desire becomes intelligent. When expectations become more realistic, life becomes more livable. Among Stoic practices, one of the most misunderstood is Memento Mori, the reminder that life is finite. At first, this idea can sound dark or uncomfortable. Modern culture often avoids thinking about death, as if ignoring it could make life safer or easier. But the Stoics approached this reminder in a very different way. They did not reflect on death to become pessimistic. They did it to become awake. When you remember that time is limited, something subtle but powerful happens. You stop assuming that there will always be later. You stop postponing what truly matters. You begin to see moments more clearly. Small irritations lose their power. Petty conflicts feel less important. Conversations gain depth. Choices gain weight. Memento Mori is not about fearing the end of life. It is about respecting life. The Stoics believed that many people live as if time were endless, drifting, delaying, reacting mechanically. Remembering mortality cuts through that illusion. It brings attention back to the present moment and asks a quiet question: how am I using the time I have? This reflection encourages presence, gratitude, and responsibility. It reminds us that each interaction is unique, each day unrepeatable. Life becomes more vivid, not less. By remembering that life will end, we learn how to truly live. Stoicism is often described as a philosophy of calm, but at its core, it is a philosophy of character. For the Stoics, the goal of life was not comfort, success, or constant happiness. The goal was to become a good human being, someone who acts with clarity, dignity, and responsibility in any situation. To guide this process, Stoicism organized human excellence around 4 fundamental virtues. These virtues were not abstract ideals. They were practical tools for decision-making in everyday life. Wisdom. Wisdom means seeing reality as it is, not as we wish it were. It involves understanding consequences, recognizing illusions, and distinguishing what truly matters from what only seems important. Wisdom asks, what is really going on here? Justice. Justice is not limited to laws or punishment. For the Stoics, justice meant acting with fairness, respect, and consideration for others. It reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger human community. Courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act according to values, even when fear is present. Courage appears when we speak honestly, set boundaries, accept responsibility, or face uncertainty without escaping into distraction. Temperance. Temperance is balance. It is knowing when to stop, when to slow down, and when to restrain impulses. In a culture that pushes excess, more speed, more stimulation, more consumption, temperance restores inner equilibrium. Together, these virtues form a compass. When emotions are intense or situations are confusing, they help answer a simple but powerful question: what is the best version of myself in this moment? Stoicism teaches that when virtues guide actions, peace follows naturally. It may seem surprising that a philosophy developed over 2,000 years ago still speaks so clearly to modern life. But when we look closer, the reason becomes obvious. Technology has changed. Social structures have changed. Speed has increased. But the human inner world has not changed. We still struggle with fear, insecurity, comparison, anger, and uncertainty. We still want approval. We still fear failure. We still feel overwhelmed when life moves faster than our inner capacity to process it. Stoicism remains relevant because it addresses these timeless human challenges at their root. Modern life constantly pulls attention outward, toward screens, opinions, trends, and external validation. Stoicism gently but firmly brings attention back inward. It asks us to develop an inner center that does not depend on constant stimulation or approval. Many modern psychological tools echo Stoic insights, observing thoughts instead of believing them automatically, focusing on what can be influenced rather than what cannot, developing emotional resilience through awareness. But Stoicism goes further. It does not focus only on mental comfort. It focuses on ethical orientation. It asks, what kind of person are you becoming through your choices? Are your habits strengthening or weakening you? Are your reactions aligned with your values? In a world full of noise, Stoicism offers clarity. In a world of pressure, it offers inner structure. In a world of constant change, it offers stability without rigidity. This is why Stoicism is not about escaping modern life. It is about living it with consciousness. Stoicism was never meant to stay in books. It was designed to be lived quietly, consistently, and daily. The Stoics understood something essential. Lasting inner change does not come from dramatic moments, but from small, repeated actions. Philosophy becomes real when it shapes how we start the day, how we respond to pressure, and how we reflect at night. Here are a few simple practices drawn directly from Stoic tradition, adapted to modern life. Morning. Setting inner direction. Before the day pulls your attention outward, take a brief moment inward. You don't need silence or perfection, just honesty. Ask yourself, what challenges might I face today? What kind of person do I want to be when they appear? This is not about predicting the future. It is about setting intention. The Stoics believed that when you prepare your mind, fewer things catch you off guard. You may not control what happens today, but you can prepare how you respond. During the day, pausing instead of reacting. Life rarely announces when a test is coming. Stress appears suddenly, through a message, a comment, a delay, a mistake. Stoicism teaches the power of the pause. When tension arises, stop for a moment and ask, is this within my control? What response reflects my values right now? Even a few seconds of awareness can break automatic reactions. Over time, this pause becomes a habit. You stop being carried by emotion and start choosing your actions more consciously. Evening, reviewing without judgment. At the end of the day, the Stoics practiced reflection, not to criticize themselves, but to learn. Look back calmly. Where did I respond well? Where did I lose clarity? What can I do differently tomorrow? This is self-education, not self-punishment. Growth requires honesty, not harshness. These practices are simple, but they are powerful. When repeated daily, they slowly build inner stability, emotional resilience, and clarity of character. Stoicism reminds us that the goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. The ancient Stoics were not searching for a perfect world. They knew such a world does not exist. They were searching for something far more realistic and far more powerful. A stable human being inside an unstable world. Life will continue to surprise you. Plans will change. People will disappoint you. Uncertainty will remain part of the journey. Stoicism does not promise control over these things. It offers something better. It reminds you that no matter what happens around you, one territory always remains yours. Your inner attitude, your choices, your character. Each time you pause instead of reacting, each time you choose clarity over impulse, each time you act according to values rather than fear, you reclaim your freedom. Not the loud freedom of doing whatever you want, but the quiet, solid freedom of self-mastery. Philosophy, in its original sense, is not about escaping life. It is about meeting life fully, with awareness, responsibility, and dignity. This path is not reserved for a few. It is open to anyone willing to work on themselves, day by day. And in a world that constantly tries to pull you outward, choosing to build yourself inward may be the most radical and human act of all.